Hey doc, I finally pulled the trigger and went full carnivore a week ago, and I'm feeling great so far. I'm 24, 6'3", and around 100 or 210 pounds, but still look skinny fat. How long should I expect the body recomposition? It's going to be months, man. It's going to be months and months and months. So, I mean, I wasn't obese or anything like that when I came back to this at 38, but I was definitely out of shape. And I've been in a refugee camp, working at a refugee camp, volunteering in a refugee camp in Bangladesh for the last few months. I hadn't worked out at all, and just ate whatever the hell. I tried to stay sort of low carb during that, but then it was just like, oh, I just got to eat whatever the hell's available. Because it's just, I may get one chance to eat a day, and then I'm just, off, in the middle of a refugee camp for, 16 hours or more. And it was a bit hellish, so it was, not as bad as it was for them, but, it wasn't great. And so I just ate whatever the hell was available when it was available. And then I went full carnivore straight after that. And I lost a significant amount of weight early on, and then I just stayed flatline. Why is that? Because I was putting on muscle, because I was working out very hard, and lifting weights for 3-4 hours a day, every day, and playing rugby, right? And so I was back at sort of at a sort of a professional training program that I had done previously, and so and more so actually, I definitely doing a lot more weights than I had ever done in my playing days, because I could just go forever, and I had a home gym, so I did, and I just enjoyed that. And but even for me, I didn't get down to like a stable body fat percentage for like 6 to 8 months, and so and I wasn't like, I was definitely overweight, but I could still see my six pack. It was just, had some fluff on it. And, but, I was not, as muscularly developed, and it was certainly not as lean. And I was like 270 pounds ish. And then like, I was down to like 240, just gone. And then it was just like shredding fat and stacking on muscle, but it took 6 to 8 months before I got to like a stable, lean, muscular physique, that I just have maintained since then. And so, it depends on where you're coming from, and it depends on how much work you're putting in. It depends on how much you're lifting weights, and are you sprinting? Are you playing sports? You're 24. You should be. You should get in the habit of sprinting and playing sports. And when you're doing, sports and things like that, like, you're just going to stay healthier and fitter for longer. And if you make it a point to sprint 3 days a week, every week, no matter what, regardless if you're in a sport or not, and you keep doing that throughout your life, you're going to have the ability to sprint 3 days a week for the rest of your life, which is going to be a much longer and happier life as a result. If you're 80 years old doing sprints, you're winning, and if you keep it up, if you sprint 3 days a week, every week, you'll be able to do sprints into your 80s, 90s, hundreds, 110s. That happens. There are people doing that. There's a 100-year-old dude who runs 5K 3 days a week. And he was up until until he's like 95, he was running like 10Ks 3 days a week. I think he probably should have kept it up at 10K, because I think sprints are better, but the less you do, the less you're able to do, especially as you're aging like that. There's some crazy statistic I heard, I don't know exactly where they pulled this from, but there's a statistic that said that only 1% of people over the age of 40 will ever sprint again. That's crazy. I'm 44. The idea of just like never sprinting again, that's crazy to me. And not being able to sprint ever again, that's crazy to me. So keep it up, and you'll do great, and you'll shred fat and stack on muscle. It's been a week. Right, you're not gonna just turn into a lean bodybuilder in a week. So it takes months, but it'll be quicker, easier, and healthier than basically any other way that you could go about this. So just keep it up. You'll start feeling better and better and better as you go. In a couple of weeks, you'll feel better than you've ever had in your entire life, because you get most of this crap out of your system. Your metabolism is going to start kicking in, and you're going to start becoming more fat adapting, getting more energy and available and things like that from the ketones. And you're going to feel better than you ever have in your entire life. And you're going to look back on your life and realize that you felt like crap your whole life, and you're going to be pissed, because I was pissed. And everybody else I talked to is pissed. I mean, like, this, I could have felt like this my whole life. This is how I was supposed to feel my whole life. You know, that's bullshit. And so, good luck with that. And, you know, keep it up, be patient. You know, you'll get to where you want to be, especially if you're lifting weights, especially if you're sprinting. Good luck. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. 3 months carnivore, triglycerides 1.4, LDL 4.25, HDL 1.25. I have totally reversed my type 2 diabetes. A1C is 5.5. Fantastic. Should I be worried about the cholesterol? My doctor is trying to put me on statins. I personally don't worry about that, because the studies that I think are much more pertinent show that higher total cholesterol and higher LDL actually is associated with lower all-cause mortality, meaning that you live longer. So there's that. And your HDL is fantastic. Your triglycerides are fantastic. You have nearly a 1-to-1 ratio with triglycerides to HDL, which is fantastic. So I would not worry too much about that. You know, if you're, that shows that you're metabolically healthy, which, you know, is reflected in your HbA1c as well, coming down, and your diabetes going away. You know, diabetes increases your risk of heart disease by 1,000%, my metabolic syndrome by 600%. And pattern B LDL, so SD LDL predominant LDL pattern, is only 70%. And with your HDL being where it is and your triglycerides being where they are, you almost certainly have pattern A, statistically speaking. So you don't even have that 70% increased risk. The same things that will reverse your pattern B to pattern A LDL is the same things that are going to reverse your diabetes and your metabolic syndrome, which is getting rid of carbs and eating more meat and fat and stopping eating these plants that can actually cause harm, and obviously junk food, etc. Watch my video called "The Truth About Cholesterol and Heart Disease." That is, you know, I go through the history on that, but there is absolutely no high-level studies anywhere that have ever been done in human history, published anywhere, that have shown a cause and effect relationship between cholesterol and heart disease. Nowhere. And yet we are, you know, infatuated with this idea that cholesterol causes heart disease. There is zero hard evidence of that. Zero, none, nothing. There's only correlation. It's weak correlation. And in many of these studies, there was an inverse correlation. There was no correlation whatsoever, or even reverse correlation, saying that higher cholesterol actually protected against cardiovascular disease and strokes. And, you know, and again, lower all-cause mortality, right? So we've been lied to. There are no studies showing a cause and effect relationship, none, because you need an experimental trial, like a randomized controlled trial, and you change one variable and you see what happens. There have been randomized controlled trials. Not a single one of them have shown that increased cholesterol leads to a cardiovascular disease of any description. But there have been at least 5 large-scale randomized controlled trials with thousands of patients each that have shown the opposite. They showed absolutely no association with cardiovascular disease, or in the 2 larger, more well-designed studies, they actually showed that as you lowered saturated fat and replaced it with vegetable oils and lowered LDL and total cholesterol, more people died of heart attacks and strokes as a result. And so guess what they did with that? They buried that for 40 years, and they had to be uncovered by other people who figured this out and figured out that these studies had been done, and dug up their old records from the families of some of the people that did them. So specifically, I'm referring to the Minnesota coronary experiment that was buried for 40 years. But that had people that were institutionalized so they could control every single meal, and they reduced animal fat and replaced butter with margarine, things like that. And more people died as a result. More people got heart attacks and strokes as a result. So why didn't they publish that? Well, because people like Ansel Keys were leading that study, and he at least was known to be on the payroll of the sugar companies at the time, and they were trying to vilify cholesterol to exonerate sugar and say that sugar was safe, because there were a lot of people saying that sugar was not safe and that it was absolutely causing heart disease and strokes, etc., which was a brand new disease in the 20th century that really did not exist prior to the 1900s. First death from heart attack in America, proven on autopsy, was in 1912. So where was heart disease before that, when we're eating way more animal fat? Seed oils didn't even exist. These heart-healthy, polyunsaturated vegetable oils, they didn't even exist. So, I mean, how did anyone survive before that, right? Because it's a lie. It's all a big lie. Procter & Gamble paid the American Heart Association the equivalent of $20 million to lie and say that seed oils like Crisco were heart healthy, and that animal fats like butter and lard were not, based on no evidence. It was just their opinion statement, and they just said, "Oh yes, this is what," and that launched them to. It's a private organization, by the way. That's not like a government oversight committee or something like that. Even though we think, "Oh, that's the official government," no, it's not. And like we should trust the government anyway. Definitely shouldn't. But this is just a private organization that was started by some cardiologists that said, "Hey, we should have an organization because this is heart disease is getting worse and worse and worse, and this is something that we should have an organization for." And they just sold out almost immediately. And so that's been their MO. They just sell out. The American Heart Association misrepresented the Framingham study and said that higher cholesterol was associated with higher cardiovascular disease mortality rates. It did not. The actual Framingham study showed the opposite, showed that lowering total cholesterol increased cardiovascular disease mortality rates. So they lied. And we have hard evidence of them lying and being paid to lie multiple times since their inception by Procter & Gamble in particular. And so these are all lies. And I go into a lot of detail on that in my video, The Truth About Cholesterol and Heart Disease. So check that out. What your body does. I mean, my asthma massively improved. I still have asthma, but it's exercise induced, and it's sort of a bit of a tightening. But it's not like it was. It's not even close to what it was when I was eating vegetables, filthy vegetables. But allergies to these sorts of things. I mean, that can be sort of a different kettle of fish.